Hello there. Just as I was wondering how manufacturers such as iRadio and Radtel were making feature pack multiband radio so cheap, here comes Bajeton and smashes through the price point again with their new BJ-8300. Believe it or not, you can buy one of these for under $30, and for that you get Bluetooth programming, color screen, 10 watts of transmission power, HF reception, and at $30, that's not much more than the price of a Kwangshan K5. So of course I had to get one. Well, actually, this is one of a family of radios based around the same internal design. Other examples include the Radtel RT-920, which seems to be quite popular at the moment. Also another Bajeton, this is the BJ-7800, and the Bintalk BT-8000. There's quite a few out there, and they are all basically the same. Probably the exception being Radtel, because they kind of add a value add by providing more updated software. They seem to update their software more frequently, and their documentation seems to be better as well. But you might find them just a little bit more expensive, but then you get what you pay for, right? So anyway, I'll leave links to all of the bargains I can find in the description. So check them out and then take a look which model you prefer. Now, there are plenty of great functional reviews on these family of radios. One guy I would recommend, if you haven't found him already, is M0FXB's channel. He's done a number of different reviews on this family of radios, and check him out if you haven't found him already. He's often the first to receive new radios when they come onto the market, especially in this price point. So I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. So in this video, I'm going to focus, as usual, on looking at the hardware, because I'm really interested to understand how it ticks and what its constraints are from a kind of inside-out perspective. And I'm also looking to see what scope there is for mods. Always like to do mods on radios. Who knows, maybe we can add Bluetooth audio. How about that? So I'm going to start with a detailed teardown of the Bajeton BJ-8300, just because it's the cheapest, and I will be going into quite some depth. We're going to look at the chipsets used and how the thing hangs together, and then I'm going to do a lighter comparative teardown of its big brother, the Bajeton BJ-7800, and see how it compares. And in the same way, I'm going to do a comparative teardown of the Radtel RT920 to see how they compare. And it's not that different. You'll be quite surprised. Now let's have a look at what we get for our meager $30. Well, first of all, you get a long wave AM, shortwave, and of course SSB and FM. So I suspect this radio's got an SI4732 in it, but I guess we'll find out. For RX, it's got a massive range. It goes from 18 to 550 megahertz, and then there's a gap. And then it goes from 760 megahertz to just shy of 1 gigahertz. Then for TX, it goes from 18 megahertz up to 108 megahertz. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty dark frequency to be operating in, but I'm not going to get into that. And then there's a gap to preserve airband, of course, or protect airband. And then it goes from 136 up to 580 megahertz for transmit. Now note that all transmission is FM only. There's no sideband, just FM. And you've got Bluetooth programming from your mobile phone. How fantastic is that at this price point? 1.8 inch color display, NOAA weather reporting system support if you guys are in the US. Spectrum display. Now that's not a waterfall like you get on an SDR. That is like showing a range of frequencies, and it shows the station if there's any stations within that range of frequencies. You got allegedly 10 watts of TX power, but I guess we'll find out. Actually, I think I will probably make another video that focuses on RF performance, spurious submissions, and so on. And it's got excellent audio. It really has. I'm actually, how about in a minute I will do a demonstration just to show you how good the audio is from this little thing. So I think that summarizes the key features, but to my point, what a lot for the money, right? Now at this point I'd like to give a quick thank you to PCBWay, the sponsor of today's video. They provide superb quality PCBs at fast turnaround times for very low prices. And in addition to PCBs, they provide a PCB assembly service, flex rigid PCBs, HDI PCBs, CNC machining, and even 3D printing. So for more information, go to PCBWay.com and I'll leave a link in the description. Now let's have a look at what you get in the box if you buy either of the Bajetons. Now this one is the cheaper BJ-8300, but what you get in the box is the same for both actually. This one's a bit damaged, but the radio appears to be right. Dodgy USB charger, I wouldn't use it if I was you. A rubber ducky UHF, VHF antenna. And you can see it covers the FM 2 meters and 70 centimeter bands. And then we've got the obligatory belt clip and lanyard, and a interesting, says shortwave radio rather than transceiver with shortwave radio. Yeah, so this is a generic manual common to both models of the Bajeton. Here's some information on the shortcut keys activated by doing a long press in general, the screen icons and so on. Now, as this is not a functional review, I'm not going to go into depth in this manual, but I'll go through every page and you can pause the video and read at your leisure. What I would say is a lot of work has been done to make sure that this manual is truly generic and doesn't give away any branding information anywhere. So obviously that's so that the OEM can on-sell this device to many different manufacturers, Bajeton, Radtel, whoever, and they can reuse this documentation without having to make any changes. Radtel generally takes this base document and then adds a bit to the front and the back to make it a bit more professional and put in any standards like CE standards that it conforms to or whatever else, but you'll find essentially it's the same document. You'll notice it doesn't provide a detailed specification either, again making this manual universally applicable to different products. Having said that, just notice a bit of a boo-boo. It's making reference to the Radtel RT900, which is essentially the same radio but without HF. So in summary, this is not a bad manual. The English is good, it's clear, and it's just good enough to get you going. Now in comparison, let's have a look at what you get if you buy the Radtel RT920. First of all, you notice you get a desk charging stand, a docking station, which is great. USB-C charging port on the back. Now the antenna, this is interesting. Very, very flexible. It's longer than on the Bajeton. It's got a lot more, it's got a bit more ding-dong on the end of it. Let's compare them, see what I mean. There you are, you see. That's interesting. That might make it better for 2 meters. Not sure about 70 centimeters. I think I'm going to have to do a SWL check on this later. Yeah, let's do that. See how they compare. Otherwise, same frequency ranges. That's interesting. I wonder if Radtel put a bit more ding-dong on the end of them. I think they're going to sell more. Is size everything? I guess we'll find out when we test it. And then let me see. Because you've got your USB-C charging cable, belt clip. No sign of a lanyard. That's a surprise. And another dodgy power supply. I wouldn't use this. I'd throw that in the bin. Use your favorite USB charger instead. And then of course the pack for freshness, the radio itself. We'll come back to the RT920 later. Now the BJ-8300 is quite a chunky radio compared with the Kwangshan UK5. You're going to feel it in your pocket a bit more, I guess, but you know, it's actually very nice to hold. Let's compare it. Let's get a UK5 next to it. There we are. You see, it's got a bigger keyboard than the UK5, which is nice. It's got that lovely big integrated speaker, which is why the audio is so good on this. It's quite small on the Kwangshan, as you can see. But you know, from the front of it, it looks kind of a similar side. But when you turn them on the side, you can see it looks like you've got quite a bigger case, and the battery's bigger also as well, substantially bigger. But I would hope you've got a bigger capacity, and you probably need it as well because you've got that backlit color display. Of course, with a non-color display, you don't need the backlight on so much. But yeah, definite difference there. Let's compare it with the Kwangshan with the extended battery on it, and you can see that they're a similar size. So I'm guessing the capacities are similar between the two. Of course, this is the UV6R Plus Kwangshan that I'm comparing it to. You see they're very similar in size. Let's compare it with the TK11, the bigger TK11. The TK11 is still a bit thinner, but the display is much better on the cheaper Bajeton. I'm really surprised on the TK11 they didn't put a color display. I'm really surprised. And let's compare it with the Radtel RT920. Actually, they're not too dissimilar actually when you compare it with the bigger Radtel. You can see not that different at all. Now let's have a look at the basic features of the radio. So let's turn it on. And you can see straight away we've got that gorgeous 1.8 inch color display capable of showing 2 bands for dual receive. And the buttons actually feel nice and are nice and spacious compared with the Kwangshan UK5. Got more room in case you've got fat fingers. But yeah, it feels nice and tactile. You'll be pleased to know we got the Kenwood speaker and mic adapter on the side there. So that's good. And then on the top there, next to the volume control, you've got the indicator LED. Now the dust cap for the SMA for HF is actually a screw on, so that's nice. Oh, a closer look at that. So you can see there in the inside of the dust cap is actually threaded. That's a nice touch. Better than the spongy one you've got on the RT920. That's nice. And then you've got the main PTT button plus 2 other programmable buttons on the side there. On. Then looking on the bottom, just turn it around. Okay, you can see we've got the USB-C charging port on the bottom of the battery itself together with the charge status LED. Now let's take the battery off. Just push that clip down and slide it off. Okay, 7.4 volts, unbranded, no capacity rating. That's unusual. You've got to see the connections there for a docking station, even though it's not supplied with one. That is unusual. Oh, and the Radtel, it is supplied with a docking station, by the way. You got the 2 contacts for the battery there. What else have we got? No frequency ranges on the label. I don't know what those 2 screws are for. No idea. No screws holding the chassis in. That's unusual. A bit like the Kwangshan UK5. That's interesting. But it's strange not to have the capacity on the battery. I'm going to compare it with this extended life battery from the Kwangshan Plus, UK6 Plus or UV Plus. You see a similar size, and this battery is rated at 2,200 milliamp hours. So based upon size alone, I'm guessing that the Bajeton battery is also around 2,200 milliamp hours. I don't think it's going to be very different. And that's pretty much it. Let's have a look at the firmware version. You can see there, and the hardware version. Now the menu system on this is flat, right? It's not structured into categories. Some people like, some people don't. But you can see the flashing number on the right. That's like a shortcut number. So check the number of the menu you want in the manual, and then you can type in that menu number and it will jump straight to it. Some people like it, some people don't. Now I've been saying how good the audio is on this radio, so I thought I'd let you have a listen to yourself.
To the pension a widowed or divorced woman receives, plus food boxes on holidays and special occasions. Supporting people was the main reason the charity was established, to support the poor.
So the radio, good audio.
The work is managed by Mohammed Salah's father and brother Nasser, and they're the ones who deal with Mohammed Salah directly.
One thing that always comes up when people talk about Salah's Egyptian football journey is a bus journey.
Pretty good in comparison. Let's try the UK5.
So we couldn't leave Negrig without experiencing this bus journey.
This one sounds quite tinny compared because of the smaller speaker.
There's been some debate as to how long it would take.
And the Kwangshan TK11's just got no depth to it. It's a lot of treble, but it feels quite thin. It sounds quite thin. So I hope you see what I mean. I mean, for a cheap radio, the audio really does stand out compared with its competitors. And of course, that's thanks to the relatively large speaker we've got integrated into the keyboard, and how much bigger it is than the Kwangshan UK5. So for radio at this price point, I think it does exceptionally well on the audio. Now on to my favourite part of the video, the teardown. Let's see how this thing works. Okay, so like the UK5, there's no screws. It looks like we just have to get the spudgy, whatever you call it, and prise it out. Well, it's not, I'll tell you what, it's not coming out as easy as the Kwangshan UK5, that's for sure. And be very careful as well. I don't know what ribbon cables are under there or anything. Maybe from the side. This is not going to be so straightforward, I don't think. What am I missing? Can you guys at home see what's going on? Maybe I should check for some additional screws or something. Nothing on the side, I've forgotten. It's not, I tell you what, it's not coming. It's like there's another screw holding it in or something. Though it's moving. A closer look. I can see two clips, left and right. Can you see those little clips? Maybe if I prise them one at a time, I can get both sides out. Let's try this side first. Come on, you can come out. Come on. It should not be this difficult. Almost there. I think we're almost there. Come on. Oh, for f***. Come on. Come on, you can do it. Oh, for f***. Come on. Almost there. I'm almost there. Oh, for sake. Oh, come on. It's got to be this difficult. Come. I'm going to have to sit down and have a cup of tea in a minute. Come on, it's got to come out. Please. Oh, for sake. No, come on. Come on, you can do it. Why would they make it so difficult? What am I missing here? Oh, now I'm scuffing out the chassis. My spludger's all right though. I'm not giving up that easily. Cannot be that difficult. Yeah. Oh, that's it. I'm fucking done. I'm gonna go a cup of tea. That's it. I'm done. I'm gonna go and get a cup of tea and a biscuit. You know, I can't understand why they make it so difficult to get in. I mean, the Kwangshan K5, UK5 was easy. That didn't have any screws. I don't know. But the case is strong though. I mean, I prized against it a lot and it didn't break. It's very tough. Actually, I think the thing to do is just use, hang on a sec. You just use 2 spludgers. That's the point. 1 on each tab. 2 spludgers. I think that would do it. Yeah. Oh, for try the dual spludger technique. 1 spludger on every tab. I know it might seem obvious now, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, right? Let's give it a go. And there you are. Bob's your uncle. So you see, in times of despair, have a cup of tea and a biscuit. It's worked for me many times. Now you see this little ribbon cable here. I'm really worried that as I pull this thing out, I'm going to tear this ribbon cable. So I'm using the blunt side of a scalpel here to release the cable tabs, or to open the cable release tabs. On either side, just push it out, and then you can use a pair of tweezers to gently prise that cable out. It should come out easily if you've got the tabs pulled back properly. I think the tab on the other side has gone in a bit. I better release that. That's better. Should come out now. There, lovely jubbly. Now something else I want to make you aware of is a spring-loaded contact, which I think is soldered to the board. Now we need to be really careful of that. We snap that off, we could damage the PCB. So after a lot of wiggling, out it comes. Make sure that that contact clears the case and then you can pull it out. And there we have it. Well, that looks pretty tidy. There's a flippy flappy cover for the speak microphone jack. That's nice and clean on that side of the PCB. There's a speaker there with a bit of insulation over the magnet. Make sure it doesn't short the PCB out. Looks like it's been filed on one side. That's a bit weird. Looks like things were a tight fit. No wonder I had problems getting it apart. Let's turn it around, get it out the right way. Let's have a look. What have we got here? See that? See the size of that speaker? That's why it sounds so good. I think that might be the same speaker as in the ATS-120 or ATS-200. I did a review on that earlier if you want to take a look. Yeah, this has been milled on one side. They've had production problems here putting this thing together. No wonder poor me has had problems taking it apart. I don't feel so bad now. That ribbon cable is connecting the keyboard by the looks of it, and keyboard lights, but it's not shielded. Naughty, naughty. It should really be shielded. What else we got? Bluetooth antenna. Oh, and then in front of that, there's a spring-loaded clip. So that will connect ground on the PCB, on the main PCB, to ground on the keyboard PCB just there. There you go. Well, that's pretty good, I suppose, but they should have still shielded that ribbon cable or flat cable. microphone there. Just unsolder those speaker wires. Fire up my trusty Finersi HSO1. Really quite good, these soldering irons are USB-C powered. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to get yourself one. I think I've got a discount code as well. Okay, we're almost free there. Alright, let's have a look at the keyboard PCB first. A little transistor in there or something. Maybe that switches on the LEDs. Not too sure. A few passive components in there. Not much going on really. Nothing to write home about. I guess you could unscrew that, but I don't think I'll bother. Just be a keyboard PCB underneath, not much going on, and LEDs. It's funny how that speaker is milled like that. I'm trying to see what spec the speaker is. I think that's 16 ohms, probably a couple of watts. High impedance for a speaker. But it's well made. That case is certainly tough. I mean, it took a lot of abuse when I was trying to get these parts separated. So it's very, how can I say, durable, tough plastic. It's definitely not brittle. And there's a little microphone there on the main PCB, a little spongy rubber bumpy thing. Let's see if we can get this display off. That's nice. Unlike the Quangshan that solder their displays in, this is on a removable flat cable connector. So, thank you. Whoever the OEM or manufacturer is for this, thank you very much for the thought and spending a few extra cents. Quangshan, please take note. Doesn't cost much. There. So a lovely 1.8 inch color display. Just put that somewhere safe. So let's take a look at the top side of the PCB. So the first thing that springs out is this little bit of coax going to the HF connector there. Obviously that would take us down to the HF receiver. We'll have a look at that in a minute. And look at that, there's a little adjustable variable resistor or potentiometer there. I wonder what that is for. That's interesting. I've not seen that before in a transceiver. Maybe that's an audio mixer level control or something. So then that takes us to the usual suspect, SI4732. Well done, a dedicated HF chip. That's what the TK11 needed, but never got. And this is the first transceiver I think we've actually built in, designed from scratch, SI3732 in rather than an add-on or daughter board. And you can see, you see there, we have a protection diode on the input. Can you see that little black dot? Well done. Another point. I'm liking this so far. Bluetooth antenna over there. You can see that goes to the other side of the PCB. So maybe we've got test points there. Speaker connections, a few passives and discrete transistors there. Oh, you can see the coax is a bit squashed. That's why they've had to mill down the speaker magnet. It was squashing on the coax. And what is that device there? I have to kind of turn that around a bit, try and see what that is. Come back to that in a minute. These resistors here are in parallel. They're the current limiting resistors for the battery input, which will connect on the other side. Display connector, discrete components. Then we've got the volume control and power switch there. There's the UHF, VHF input output. You see that's screwed to the chassis. That's interesting. What else have we got? So that's the microphone with a rubber protective bumper around it. Ta-da! There it is. And the brass thing's the heatsink in the middle. So I'd expect to see the power transistors on the other side. Now, let's see what this device is. Okay, so that's an LM2904B. Can you see that there? So this is a dual op amp. So this may be being used for audio, not sure. Maybe it's been configured as a filter. But that suggests that potentiometer next to it is being used perhaps to adjust audio levels between different systems, maybe between HF and the UHF VHF section, or maybe to control the volume of the audio voiceover chip. Not sure, but I expect it's an audio function. Now to get the main board off, I expect all the juicy stuff is happening underneath. Okay, I've got all the screws out from the main board, but before I can remove the main board, I need to desolder the UHF VHF connector. I'll just do that right now. Using my trusty desoldering machine. There you go. Right, so now having separated the two halves, let's have a look at the chassis. I'll tell you the first thing that strikes me is how deep the cavities are on the chassis. It's no wonder the thing is so thick. You've got separate cavities of different parts of the circuit. This one here is for the power, audio, microprocessor sections. This one is for the RF section. You see they've got the thermal pads to help provide some heat transfer from the RF power amplifiers to the chassis to help cooling. So already we know we've got two RF amplifiers in this. Probably one for UHF, one for VHF, as you can see there. So let's have a look around the main board, starting from the top. So here we have the volume control and main power switch. And then we have this IC, which looks like an audio amplifier, TDA2822. Now this is interesting. Looking at the data sheet, we can see it's a dual or stereo amplifier. Not clear on why that would be used. I mean, maybe one channel is used for the external socket and the other is used for the internal speaker. Not sure. But there's a 16 ohm speaker, so maybe to get a good audio output they use this in a bridge configuration. Unfortunately, all of the specifications relate to a 4 ohm or 8 ohm speaker, so we can't really tell what the output would be. But nevertheless, it does seem to go quite loud, as you've heard, and it does sound good. So I don't think it need bother us too much. But here's the information, just in case you're interested. And look at that, a through-hole electrolytic capacitor. My God, these guys are really not bothered about saving space. Look how tall that is. It's no wonder the thing's so thick. Obviously, saving space wasn't a priority, was it? Okay, there you got the speaker and microphone jacks there. Power connections for the battery. What else have we got? Moving down the board. The board looks like you've got a voltage regulator there. A few discretes. And what's that? I bet that's the memory. Okay, let's have a look at the data sheet. T25S80. So I can see this is just an 8 megabit serial flash memory. Nothing to write home about there. And then moving on up above that, we can see we've got the what looks like the microprocessor, but unfortunately it's been lasered so that there's no markings on it. What we can tell is obviously it's got a Bluetooth facility as well. It's Bluetooth transmission capability, 24 megahertz base crystal. That's going to be multiplied to get your internal clock. And then next to it, we've got the all-important transceiver chip. Just get that into focus. So that's a BK4829. We've seen this one before. This transceiver is used as one of the 2 transceiver chips used in the Quashang TK11. Other transceivers such as the Quashang UK5 and the Radtel RT-880 use the BK4819. Now you think, well, what's the difference? Well, not a lot actually, just the frequency range, really. And if you have a look at this little sketch, you can see at the top we've got the BK4819, which is used in most cheap handheld receivers, and you can see it's got a gap between 660 and 840. Whereas the BK4829 that we're using here has a gap between 580 and 760 megahertz. So other than that, not much of a difference. Oh, and it skews the background noise. We've got a bit of a thunderstorm going on here in Singapore, so I might get a bit of a rumble now and again. So aside from the VHF functionality, this transceiver chip is pretty central to everything that this receiver can do. You can see that most of the features you'll see in the specifications of this radio are also in this data sheet. Such things as the CTC, CCS tone processing, DTMF, FSK modem, frequency inversion scrambler, Vox, and all these other features. So this is a core chip to the whole receiver. Okay, so then moving down, what else have we got? Anything else of interest? There's the block diagram in case you're interested. High level block diagram. And then you can see the functional split between the receive and transmission paths there. In case you're interested, you can pause and nerd out for a bit. Okay, so let's go back to the PCB. So there's the section for the transceiver, which has got its own shielding and cavity. Looks like another voltage regulator section and something else going on there, maybe a frequency mixer. And then you can see the 2 pre-RF amplifiers here, the H06P5A. So those would be, and I can see you've got 2 channels here, probably one for UHF and one for VHF. And here we've got the 2 RF power stages. So we can see we've a pair of H0609As. Now this is interesting. You see they're rated at 8 watts, but this is supposed to be a 10 watt receiver. That's a bit naughty. Mind you, that's at 7.2 volts, and we have got a 7.4 volt battery, so we could probably up the power a bit, but that's a bit naughty, isn't it? There's no headroom, no spare room there. Are they being overdriven? Frequency range is good, 1.8 to 1 gigahertz. No problems there. What do you think? A bit naughty, right? What else have we got? Oh, CW's got a bit higher output there because of increased efficiency. We see there it's given ratings for both 2 meters and 70 centimeters. What else have we got? In case you're interested in nerding out with me for a minute. Okay, we got a design here, typical design for the 70 centimeter band at 7.2 volts. In case you're interested in building your own amp. And here is something similar for 2 meters. All right, well, there you go. Well, that was a bit of a surprise. You see, the Radtel RT-880, the power amplifiers are actually higher than the quoted power output to give some headroom. But then these things are built to a cost. So what else have we got? You can see the 2 channels there going up to the UHF, VHF antenna point. Well, I think that's about it. Oh, of course, we've got the buttons for the PTT and the 2 spare programmable buttons on the side there. Have I missed anything? There's the heat sink for those 2 power amplifiers. What else? I think we're pretty much done. Okay, let's have a look at the differences between these radios. So on the right, I've got the BJ-7800, which is the same as a Radtel RT920. And on the left there, of course, I've got the BJ-8300 that I just tore down. And then you can see that the buttons are in the same locations on the left there, the PTT and the 2 spare programmable buttons. You can see the form factor is a little bit different. You see the Radtel 920 and the BJ-7800 is a bit taller. The microphone and speaker connector is the same. Same screen, same speaker, same knobs on the top, same battery performance, same RF performance. What you will notice is on the RT920 and the BJ-7800, you've got a dedicated VM switch to switch between channel and frequency mode, and a separate band switch and a separate AB switch. So that helps navigate the functions a bit easier. But apart from that, they're absolutely identical radios. Another difference to consider when you're opening these is the Radtel RT920 and the BJ-7800 have both got metal panels on them, you'll notice. Now that metal panel needs to come off first, because underneath you'll find that there's like a thick metal strip which is used to ground the front metal panel with the ground on the main PCB. See what I mean? Let me just take these screws out one moment. Almost there. Right, now have a look at this. Just get the rubber buttons out. There you are. There, you see that metal strip? That is used to connect the back of the metal panel with the ground on the PCB. So you need to strain that up and then feed that through the hole as you pull out the chassis. Another slight difference is, which I'm really happy about, it's got screws holding the chassis in. Oh, thank God. So this one I think is going to be a doddle. Right, so this applies to the Radtel RT920 and the BJ-7800. So this one I think is going to make me happy. I don't think I'm going to need a cup of tea and a biscuit for this one. Let's just get my spludger and a single spludger. Here we go. How easy was that? Effortless. Okay, now I still got to take into account that ribbon cable, but look how easy that is compared. So if you're wanting to choose one of these radios and you want to mod it, my suggestion is you either get the Radtel 920 or the BJ-7800, just because of this reason. And opening up the radio reveals that you haven't got the speaker filed down like we have on the 8300. So we've got a bit more room in there. Actually, there's loads of room inside these. Fantastic for modding. So I'm already thinking about what to do with these. Quite looking forward. Got any ideas? Let me know in the comments. I always love to get your comments. Another difference I noticed with the 7800 is that the VHF UHF connector is soldered directly to the PCB. So another thing that makes it easier to open. So that's another bonus. Now look at this clever button PCB. Got 2 rows of 3 buttons. They're all in parallel. So if the OEM sends these radios to Bajeton and uses the Bajeton metal plate, it lines up with the top 3 buttons. But then if they ship them to Radtel, use Radtel's metal plate, it lines up with the bottom 3 buttons. So you think they're different radios, but they're not. They're exactly the same thing, but just designed by the OEM to make it look like they're different for each brand. So there you go. Now, if you recall, the RT920 had a much longer antenna than the BJ-7800, so I wanted to do a SWR test. I did it at 2 meters, and they're both the same at around 144 megahertz. I got about 1.2 for SWR. And here's the shorter antenna from the 7800 at 407 megahertz. We got about 1.2. Obviously that varies a lot. What's important is the relative performance between the two. I want to see how the longer one compares with this. 2 at 432 megahertz. Dark PMR frequency, we're getting up to like 2.7, something like that. So now let's try it with the longer antenna that we got supplied with the RT920. So things are not looking good here. You can see that the resonant frequency is obviously a lot lower than 400 megahertz. Let's see what the SWR is. Okay, so at 410 it's about 2.1. So clearly not a well-matched antenna for 70 centimeters. We get to 430. Now we're getting SWR like 2.7. So yeah, look, if you buy the RT920, I suggest you attach one of the standard size UHF VHF antennas. Let's try the Radtel just as a sanity check. I know that's got a good antenna. See what that comes in at. This is from the Radtel RT-880. And as you can see there, you've got resonance just above 400 megahertz, a bit like the shorter antenna, the 7800. So yeah, it's definitely the longer antenna which is causing a problem. So now the big question, which one should you choose? Well, let's say a few words about each of them. First of all, the Bajeton BJ-8300. I actually think Bajeton is the original manufacturer or OEM. I say that because I noticed the PCB had the markings BT8000 on it, which we can see here is the same as the model number for Bajeton's radio. And I also know that they've got an R&D and manufacturing facility, so they are probably the brains behind all of these. Does that mean you should buy one from Bajeton? Well, not necessarily, but you might get it a bit cheaper. Who knows? Then we've got the BJ-8300, which I did the complete teardown on. My God, what a pain to take apart. If you're thinking about modifying one of these, this is probably not the one to go for. But looking around AliExpress, I think that this is probably going to be the cheapest, the best bang for the buck. It's coming in at a price of around $30, almost the same as a Kwangshan UK5. So yeah, definitely the best value of the bunch. Then moving up to the BJ-7800, which is cosmetically almost identical to the RT920 from Radtel. Well, what I would say about this is they're both nice in that they've got the extra buttons. You've got the extra buttons there for the channel or frequency or VFO. You've also got an extra button there for band and AB selection. Not a biggie, but nice to have. So how to choose between the 7800 and the 920? Well, you'll probably find the Bajeton 7800 comes in a bit cheaper. But then on the other hand, the Radtel RT920, in addition to having that desktop charger as well, you'll probably get a bit better software support and customer support from Radtel. This is just a guess, but you know this is why you're paying a bit of a premium for it. Other than that, I think I would definitely go with either the 7800 or 920, just because they're easier to open and mod if you're into that sort of thing. If you're not, you can probably just save yourself a bit of money and go with the 8300. The other thing worth a bit of a mention was the longer antenna supplied with the RT920, which seemed to be a shot in the foot. As far as 70 centimeter, it seemed to compromise 70 centimeters from what I could see, at least in theory, if I'm looking at SWR. So if you do get one of those, I suggest you replace the antenna with a regular UHF, VHF antenna from another transceiver that you might have lying around. Now, what else I had to say about these radios? Well, they all, of course, have the SI4732 HF IC, so a fantastic performing little chip, of course. So I'd expect the performance to be the same as a modified Kwangshan UK5 or the 4732 Mini or the Radtel 880. And you see where I'm going with this. I mean, they're using the same chip. I would expect it to be much better than the Kwangshan TK11, that's for sure. And I've had people asking me what's the difference between the Radtel RT880 and the RT920. Well, the 920 is along with every other radio in this family, they've only got one transceiver chip. The key difference with the RT880, like the TK11, is they have two transceiver chips, which gives them the ability to act as crossband repeaters. And it also allows them to have tri-band or triple band receive, whereas this family of radios, because it's only got one transceiver chip, can only be a dual band receive radio. So I'll leave links in the description for all of these radios. I'll try and get the lowest cost links I can find, and I can also get you a discount if you buy from the Radtel site as well, so do check those out. So at this point, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you very much for joining me on this rather long video. Well, we did cover a lot, didn't we? And as usual, if you found this video useful, please do help me by subscribing and giving me a like. Meantime, until the next video, take care and 73.